Look, today we're absolutely tearing down a massive misconception about success, and we're taking a hard, honest look at what true transformation actually demands from you. And spoiler alert, it demands absolute, unapologetic silence. You see, everybody thinks disappearing means you just gave up. They think, oh, he just couldn't hack the pressure. But honestly, that couldn't be further from the truth. Disappearing is not a weakness, it is a highly calculated weapon. It's that exact moment you decide to stop talking about what you're going to do and you actually start doing it, in the dark where absolutely nobody can watch you.
Are you sick of performing for people who are never going to help you anyway? I mean, really, honestly, ask yourself that. We all battle this deep-seated addiction to external validation, right? We're constantly explaining our lives to people who, let's be real, are only watching so they can laugh if we slip up. But disappearing isn't about throwing in the towel or running away. Not at all. It's a direct strike against performing for an audience that frankly just doesn't care. You don't need an audience to become somebody. You need time and you need discipline.
So if we want to separate the true doers from the talkers, we need a game plan. And it boils down to a super simple three-part mantra. First, you disappear in silence. Second, you rebuild in secret. And third, you let the results speak when you return. Memorize that. Most people are never going to live by this formula. And honestly, that is exactly why most people never change anything about their predictable everyday routines.
There's this really dangerous myth out there about announcing your plans. You know what I'm talking about. When you post that gym selfie or brag about that new business you're going to start. What happens is your brain gets this cheap, fake dopamine hit of pride. It literally tricks you into feeling like you've already achieved something. And that steals the exact hunger you actually needed to do the hard work. Disappearing, on the flip side, is about the heavy, totally unrewarded reality of invisible work. It's doing the reps in the dark when literally nobody is counting.
But hey, you really got to understand the role of your current surroundings. Your environment, it's not just some neutral backdrop. It is a machine running 24/7, cranking out the exact same average version of you over and over. You simply cannot rebuild your life standing in the exact same four walls that made you comfortable being weak. If you truly want to disappear and rebuild, you have to change where you sit, change who you call, and completely alter what your day looks like the absolute second your eyes open.
Comfort feels like protection, doesn't it? It feels safe. But let me tell you, comfort is a trap. It's just dressed up nice so you don't notice it's eating you alive. It is hands down the most dangerous room you could ever sit in because absolutely nothing in there is asking anything of you. Nothing in there is stretching you or forcing you to become even 1 ounce more than what you already are today.
Listen, transformation requires two things, and two things only: pressure and silence. It's just like putting intense pressure on a rock to create a diamond. Growth only happens when you are squeezed. Nobody, and I mean nobody, ever left a rock alone on a warm, comfortable couch and came back to find a diamond. Silence, especially with zero comfort attached to it, is one of the heaviest, most productive kinds of pressure a human being can possibly endure. If your rebuild feels easy, well, you aren't rebuilding. You're just resting with better lighting. Now, this rebuild, it doesn't just happen overnight. It actually plays out across 3 very distinct phases. Phase 1 is the ugly season. This is where nothing shows yet. Phase 2 is the boring season, where you just keep grinding even though it feels like absolutely nothing is moving. And Phase 3, that's the season it finally clicks. Most people quit in Phase 1 because it gives you zero return on your investment. But surviving that brutal, ugly season is the absolute only door into the other 2 phases. There's no shortcut around it, guys.
And that silent middle, that's where the entire transformation actually happens. It's not just empty space. Look, nobody claps for you when you hit dead ends in this maze. You're going to put in weeks of quiet effort and probably feel exactly the same as the day you started. But that quiet, repetitive frustration, that right there is the actual engine of your success. The middle is packed with failed attempts and pure boredom. But if you skip the middle, you never ever earn the ending that shocks everybody.
Now, I need to clear something up real quick. Do not confuse disappearing with hiding. Hiding is cowardice. It's running away from your problems, completely avoiding your mirrors, and just refusing to look at what's broken. Disappearing is the exact opposite. Disappearing means you are finally facing everything you've been avoiding, but you're doing it privately without an audience. That way, you can be brutally honest with yourself without worrying for a second about how it looks to anyone else. To really wrap your head around the kind of extreme patience this takes, just picture this. 2 boats leaving the exact same dock, heading in what looks like the exact same direction. Now, one shifts just a few tiny degrees off course. Over a short distance, both boats still look almost identical, right? But give it enough time, and that tiny shift puts those two boats in completely different places. They get so far apart they aren't even visible to each other anymore. That is exactly how extreme patience and daily discipline work.
Your daily choices in this silent season work exactly like that 1-degree shift. Nobody notices one single day of silence. Nobody notices one day of discipline. But stacking just one quiet day of discipline on top of another, that eventually creates a total, undeniable separation from your old life. The distance between who you used to be and who you are becoming turns into something that is just impossible to miss.
Okay, so what does this unforgiving rebuild actually demand from you every single day? Well, you have to show up on the days you really don't want to. You have to keep your word to yourself when literally nobody else would know if you broke it. You must ignore your feelings because, let's face it, feelings lie constantly. And you have to treat the small, boring reps as sacred. True discipline isn't just one giant dramatic choice you make once. It's 1,000 invisible choices made quietly, day after day after day.
And this brings us to the armor you're building. You really have to understand the difference between chosen suffering and unchosen suffering. Unchosen suffering, life's inevitable hits, the tragedies, failing bodies, that's coming for everyone. It just is. But the intentional pain of the silent season, the early mornings, the isolation, that is chosen suffering. It's training. If you never choose discomfort for yourself, you are going to be absolutely shattered by the unchosen hits, simply because you never built the strength to hold them.
As you get deeper into the work, you are gonna feel this massive urge to leak little updates. You have to kill that urge. Protect the silence like it's the most valuable thing you own. You're gonna wanna drop hints, right? Just to let people know you're still out here grinding, maybe for a tiny bit of reassurance. Don't do it. If you leak updates piece by piece out of impatience, you soften the shock. You completely destroy the mechanism that makes your comeback hit hard. Let the whole transformation land all at once.
Because listen, this is all building up to the ultimate payoff. The undeniable shock on their faces is worth way more than any amount of attention you could have ever gotten running your mouth. Think about that slow realization from the exact people who previously wrote you off, when they realized they completely misjudged how far you were actually willing to go. That look? That only exists because you disappeared completely and let them hold on to an outdated picture of who you were.
But hear this warning loud and clear, okay? The comeback is your new baseline. It is not the finish line. When the applause finally starts and people actually notice the change, do not relax back into your old habits. If you get soft the second you get the reaction you wanted, you're just going to hand back everything you just fought for. The ultimate goal was never just surprising them anyway. It was simply becoming a person who no longer has to perform or explain themselves to anyone ever again.
So, I'm going to leave you with this stark ultimatum about your legacy. Which version of your future are you building toward? Because make no mistake, you are building toward one of them right now, whether you mean to or not. Are you building toward the regret of a person who stayed comfortable and visible? Or the legacy of the one who went quiet, did the ugly work, and came back totally unrecognizable? The choice is entirely yours. If you're ready to choose the path of silence and true discipline today, be sure to subscribe to Elmi Motivations. Now protect your silence and get back to work.